Time, heist, and heartbreak. Wade's desperate gamble to save Vanessa. "Vanessa!" Wade screamed, his voice raw with anguish as he cradled her lifeless body in his arms. The rain poured down relentlessly, each drop a cruel reminder of his failure. Rain lashed down, mirroring the storm of grief raging inside him. It was as if the heavens themselves were mourning her loss. He had failed her, again. The weight of his repeated failures crushed him, leaving him gasping for breath. But this time, he had the means to change things. A glimmer of hope sparked within him, igniting a fierce determination. Cable's time travel device, a beacon of hope in the depths of his despair. It was his last chance, a fragile thread to cling to in the storm. Ignoring the throbbing pain in his own body, Wade strapped himself and Vanessa into the device. His hands trembled, but his resolve was unshakable. He set the coordinates for the moment before her fateful encounter with fate, his heart pounding with a mixture of dread and determination. Every second counted. The world around them dissolved into a blinding white light. Time itself seemed to hold its breath. He was willing to risk everything, even the very fabric of reality, to save the love of his life. No sacrifice was too great. The device clunked to a halt, spitting sparks and smoke. He had made it. Relief washed over him, but the journey was far from over. He gently woke Vanessa, a relieved laugh escaping his lips, as he saw her confused but unharmed face. She was alive, and that was all that mattered. He had rewritten their tragic ending. The nightmare was over, or so he thought. They could finally have the future they had dreamed of. A future filled with love, laughter, and endless possibilities. Triumphantly, Wade returned to the Xavier Mansion, eager to share his victory with his fellow X-Men. Surely they would understand. He had done the impossible. He had saved the woman he loved. His heart swelled with pride and joy. What could be wrong with that? He couldn't fathom why anyone would see it differently. But instead of congratulations, he was met with stony silence and accusing stares. The atmosphere was thick with tension. Professor X, his brow furrowed with concern, explained the potential consequences of tampering with time. His voice was grave, each word a heavy blow. His actions had unforeseen repercussions, ripples that threatened the delicate balance of the universe. The cost of his love might be more than he ever imagined. Rejected hero Wade's failed bid to join the Avengers. Determined to prove his good intentions, Wade decided to seek out the Avengers. They were Earth's mightiest heroes, the protectors of the innocent. Surely they would understand his actions, a man driven by love to right a wrong. He donned his cleanest, well, least dirty Deadpool suit, practiced his most heroic pose in the mirror, and set off to find them. He tracked them down to Stark Tower, bursting onto the scene with his trademark blend of bravado and awkwardness. The Avengers, however, were less than impressed. Captain America, ever the morally upright leader, sternly lectured him on the sanctity of the timeline. Iron Man, ever the sarcastic billionaire, made snide remarks about Wade's costume and questionable hygiene. Thor, though sympathetic to a love story, admitted that even his Asgardian powers couldn't undo the potential damage Wade had caused. Black Widow simply raised a skeptical eyebrow, her expression speaking volumes. Rejected and defeated, Wade slunk away, the weight of his actions pressing down on him. He had saved Vanessa, but at what cost? From Merc to Mechanic Wade's mundane life as a used car salesman, once a notorious anti-hero, now just another face in the crowd. 6 years had passed since Wade's ill-fated time travel escapade. 6 years of trying to blend into a world that felt alien to him. 6 long years of living a painfully normal life with Vanessa. They had their moments of joy, but the spark of adventure was missing. He had tried, really tried to embrace the normalcy. Every day was a struggle to fit into a mold that was never meant for him. He got a job as a used car salesman, his silver tongue and questionable sales tactics surprisingly effective. He could sell ice to an Eskimo, but it was all just a facade. He even attempted to curb his more eccentric tendencies, much to Vanessa's amusement. She loved him for who he was, quirks and all, but the monotony of it all grated on him. The days blurred together, each one more tedious than the last. The thrill of the fight, the camaraderie, however dysfunctional, of his fellow mutants. Even the constant threat of imminent death. He missed it all. The adrenaline rush was irreplaceable. He loved Vanessa more than anything, but a part of him felt trapped, his true self suffocating under the weight of domesticity. He was torn between two worlds. He tried to find solace in his old hobbies, training, cracking wise, making chimichangas, but it wasn't the same. The spark was gone, replaced by a dull ache. The guilt of his actions, the knowledge that he had potentially jeopardized the universe gnawed at him. It was a burden he carried alone. He was a ticking time bomb of cosmic consequences, masquerading as a mildly dysfunctional used car salesman. Every day was a battle to keep his past at bay, and he had a sinking feeling that his past was about to catch up with him. The shadows of his former life loomed large, threatening to unravel the fragile normalcy he had built. The TVA's intervention paradox reveals the true cost of Wade's actions. His premonition proved true, and the consequences were far more severe than he could have ever imagined. One particularly uneventful Tuesday afternoon, while trying to convince a bewildered elderly couple that a rusty El Camino was the car of their dreams, a portal shimmered open in the used car lot, disrupting the mundane scene. Out stepped a group of figures that could only be described as bureaucratic. Their presence was both imposing and oddly mundane, a strange juxtaposition that only added to the surreal nature of the moment. They wore matching uniforms, carried strange, glowing batons, and radiated an aura of tedious authority. It was clear they meant business, and their technology was unlike anything Wade had ever seen. Wade Winston Wilson boomed the lead figure, a woman with an impressive beehive hairdo and a permanent scowl etched onto her face. Her voice carried the weight of countless regulations and protocols. "You are in violation of numerous temporal regulations. Come with us," she commanded, leaving no room for argument or resistance. "You have the right to remain silent, but seriously, please try." Resistance was futile. Wade knew better than to argue with such an authoritative presence. Wade found himself bundled through the portal and deposited in a sterile white room that screamed government agency. The starkness of the room only heightened his sense of foreboding. He was face to face with a being called Paradox, the enigmatic overseer of the Time Variance Authority, TVA. Paradox's presence was both calming and intimidating, a paradox in itself. Paradox, with a sigh that seemed to carry the weight of eons, explained the gravity of Wade's actions. His tone was grave, and his words were heavy with the burden of countless timelines. His use of Cable's device had fractured the timeline, creating a ripple effect that was slowly but surely unraveling the very fabric of reality. The consequences were far-reaching and dire, unless something was done, and soon the consequences would be catastrophic. The urgency in Paradox's voice was unmistakable, and Wade felt the weight of the multiverse pressing down on him. The fate of the multiverse rested on Wade's shoulders. It was a responsibility he had never asked for, but one he could not escape. Again. Great. Just great. Wade thought to himself, feeling the familiar mix of exasperation and determination. The challenge ahead was daunting, but he knew he had to face it head-on.